Let's bring Tone in.
All right, here we go. Buckle up, you guys. Woo-wee! You know what? It's crazy. I really didn't really get the opportunity to really hear everything because I'm going back and forth. So I'm trying to like hear it, trying to find the clips, the stuff that's important. But when I hear that they felt like that Kobe Dean is their future, and that they feel like Zach Cunningham had a great year based off the tape and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, look,
did they really say Zach Cunningham had a great year?
In the press conference, Howie Roseman said, "Yeah, off the tape, Zach Cunningham had a good year for us, all that kind of stuff."
They couldn't cover a linebacker.
And look, here's the thing:
they had the worst run defense the last 7 weeks.
Look. It's I said this to Rob earlier, right?
They had the worst linebacking core in the league.
Listen to this. I got you. Listen to this. Zach Cunningham, was he their most consistent linebacker? Probably, but listen to this. It's easy for a 6 to look like a 10 in a room full of 4s. You follow me? You follow me?
Oh no.
It's easy.
She's kind of good looking for the rest of the group. Look at her. She's the best one in the group. And you're going like this when you wake up in the morning. Damn, I'm with Mrs. Fugly. Are you kidding me?
Why did you do that? All right, hold on. All right, we gotta be professional. We gotta be professional. We gotta chill. Gotta be professional.
Yeah, okay, be as professional as what I heard today.
Oh my God. Well,
man.
I wish I could hear everything, but just hearing when they asked him about his role with the OC and the DC and all that kind of stuff.
I'm basically told you he doesn't have a job.
He in so many words, he said, "Yeah, I'm just gonna be walking around, checking the soap dispensers, making we got plenty of soap. You know what I mean? Checking the water, checking the water tank, making sure we got plenty of water." Oh my God!
Did he also say that he fired Desai? I heard somebody say.
All right, so listen. They asked Howie directly, "What was your involvement in the demotion of Sean Desai?" And in so many words, and I'm paraphrasing, but I got to be careful. That's a blasphemy.
Yeah, watch out for paraphrasing. We got to worry about paraphrasing around here because we have English majors that watch the show.
Right. So basically, what Howie said was, "Yeah, in decisions like that, Nick comes to me. He tells me his concerns. He tells me what's on his mind, and then we ultimately make that. And then we ultimately make that kind of decision together, And he handles all his coaches and makes those kind of decisions. Just like the decision to turn down play calling and give it to Shane. He made that decision, and in my mind, I'm like, stop fucking lying.
No shit.
Like,
yo,
my first.
Let me stop you. Hang on. When I don't know who asked the question. I think it was Jeff McClain that asked that question, or maybe Selke asked that question. Are you going to make?
Yeah, Silke, maybe. I can't tell.
Are you going to make any changes at coordinator? That didn't look like a guy that was covering. That's a guy that had conviction going, no, I love everyone in the building, and I believe. Within a matter of 3 days, he was fired or demoted, whatever. I mean, it's a bull-faced lie.
Right. To just, I would much rather you say, hey, well, you know what? It's an 18-week season and we're evaluating everybody on a week-to-week basis. I would have rather you said that. At least that way you're not telling me that if something was to happen, I should be surprised. You know what I mean? It's just he just feels the need to go too neck deep in certain points. And it's like, just keep it surface. That way, if anything changes, you're good. You know what I mean? We're not going to look at you like you're a liar. Don't say, oh, yeah, I got everybody's back. And then you fire the guy 2 weeks later. That's weird.
I got more out of the fireside chat than I thought I was going to get out of with these guys, man. I mean, seriously, it was like marshmallows being roasted, like it was like hot cocoa and
I
shit.
wish I could
These
show.
guys,
I wish I could show clips, man. I
hey,
really
hey,
do.
listen, you didn't have to say all that shit. You kind of put your foot in your mouth when you over explain. Well, my job, I really don't, I don't have anything to do with the defense. I have anything to do with the offense. I don't have anything to do with really special teams. Okay, Nick. Well, then if you don't have anything to do with that, I have everything to do with the culture. Well, the culture fell apart at the end. You fired Desai. The culture became even worse when you put Patricia in there. How do you have a job?
I'm so glad you said that. Notice everything that he said he had a hand in, it ultimately failed.
He's covering.
So help me understand. You're supposed to have a handle on these things, but everything that you had your fingerprints on ultimately failed. So why are you still here?
Why are you still
here?
Everything
that you had your fingerprints on, the culture that you claim you're responsible for, failed you in the end. Brian Johnson, the guy that you so-called elevated, failed you in the end. It's just too many. The offense that you claim is your offense failed in the end. Everything that he says he had a strong hand in failed. And I don't know if they realize what he's saying when he says that. He is literally putting his foot in his mouth, if you ask me. And look, I don't care if it's the ending press conference, the first one. I'm not giving you too much to bite your, I'm not giving you too much to sink your teeth into. I'm not.
They gave him a fucking steak today.
Gave him a tomahawk.
Dude.
Tomahawk steak today.
Holy shit, man. One of those Kobe steaks.
Man,
at $1,500.
Twitter is lighting their asses up.
Hey, speaking of that, hey, Tone, how many people backed or defended anybody this year? And how many people backtracked comments when it came to players and coaches this year, when it came to potential comments that other people made? Would we say that was a common theme this year, that people made a comment after the game, even Jalen or even Nick? AJ Brown, all of them. Then they had to come out and they had to clarify their comments somehow during the week, right?
I feel like all year this team has been playing on unstable ground. And they've just been saying one thing, putting their foot in their mouth, trying to clean it up, trying to, perception, like all that stuff instead of winning freaking football games when it matters most. They've been so concerned about how they look.
Yeah,
off the field, they haven't been concerned enough about how they look on the field, and it's frustrating to me. And I'm at the point now where
it's not honest.
It's not. I'm a fan of the team. Don't get me wrong, but I'm watching this team objectively. I have no.
Are you?
No, trust me. At this point now,
because my question to you would be, you really believe after what you're hearing? And you have to go back and listen to even more of it. You really think 2 coordinators and everything is going to just be all peachy king and you're going to fix Jalen Hurts next year and you're going to fix the team and they're going to be back on their merry way? You all of a sudden think that that's going to go and they're going to be trending in the right way when, quite frankly, the thing fell apart after 17. You are trending in the same direction.
And that's the thing. They're trending in the direction, right? Is it possible, for them to make is it possible for things to go right? Sure. Anything's possible, right? But I don't trust them right now. That's what it comes down for me. I don't trust them right now. And at a base level, if I can't trust you, it's hard for me to believe anything you say or anything you do. I have faith in your process. As of right now, on January 24th, and people can write it down, hold me to it, whatever it is, I do not trust the Philadelphia Eagles right now. It's just that simple for me.
Let me address something with you now, because you were getting family time and our good friend Barrett Brooks came on the program yesterday.
I watched that interview in full, by the way. I had a chance to check it out. That was a good conversation between you guys.
And Howie took a shot, y'all, without saying Dan's name.
Somebody got to tag me in there. I got to see that.
Yeah.
I got to see that.
Okay.
Oh, I got to see it. If that's the case.
Isn't that great, Tone, what you've done for this show and what everyone has done? They've made the show one of the most relevant shows in Philly.
I just come in every day, punch the clock, and try to just do my best, man.
How about Britton Covey responding? So first, let me set it up.
He sent the
So
whole TED Talk.
we had a good conversation. You were listening to it. And then at the end, I asked, and you know what? To be candid, I'm still suspect on the whole leadership thing. I had fun
I
with it,
know.
but I'm still, I'm not ready to make that an indictment on the kid yet. Because
Neither am I.
I'm not totally there. I do think that there was some shit at the end that really, like, even you and I said in the Tampa game, it was horrible body language in the Tampa game and in the Giant game. It just didn't look like leadership from the kid. All that being said, Barrett heard something someone said, and could he have maybe misinterpreted it? Probably. Could he have maybe stood for it? You got to remember something about Barrett Brooks. He's a 12-year veteran. He's a guy that doesn't need the money. He's a guy that doesn't need the job. Why the fuck would he just make that blatantly up?
Right. He
when
doesn't
he
gain
walks
anything
into that locker room on a daily basis?
Listen.
Just to sit there and go. And then Britton Covey goes on my Twitter page and completely disputes it and gives me a Nick Sirianni soliloquy where he completely just goes into detail about why that's not true. Dude, I question more of that because this year, and by the way, I back Barrett because I know Barrett and I believe Barrett, and I don't believe Barrett Brooks is a liar. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, do I think it could have been misinterpreted? Yes, but I like to stay in the middle to let things kind of play itself out to see how this thing, that guy Joe did an article on Jalen. Barrett said something. Am I saying he's Wentz? Absolutely not.
Right. Even Joe Santoliquito in his article, he made it very clear this is not a Carson Wentz situation.
It is not, and I don't believe it is either. However,
I don't think anybody does. But you have people who are so sensitive
about Hurts, and it's so true. What you guys have done to this guy is give unfair expectations in a rushing matter. You have tried to elevate this kid into being a franchise quarterback when he's got a ton of growth yet to go on the field, off the field. You want him to be, as you say, a finished product after 3 years of starting. That's insane. Kyler Murray is a great also case study. He's got a mountain of years yet to develop. Michael Vick didn't develop into a leader.
Michael Vick said himself he didn't understand the position until he got with Andy Reid. That was like 8 or 9 years into his career.
You Eagle fans have rushed it. And I think the Eagles giving him that money rushed it even more.
You know what's so funny? I think them giving him the money didn't rush it for him. It rushed it for themselves. They rushed
put that for everyone.
Yeah, they put that pressure on themselves. And look,
yes.
I wasn't against them paying him, by the way. I want to make that clear. Look, I like Jalen Hurts. And I make that very clear. I just feel like people have a misconception about how they think, he's supposed to operate and what they expect out of him. For me, I think Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that, let me make this clear. Above all else, out of everything going on with the Eagles, that's the one fragment of that organization that I trust. That's the one fragment of the organization that I can say I have the utmost faith in.
Here,
and go ahead.
Okay, well, Tony, see, I'm impervious to liking someone when it comes to covering a football guy, unless I know them personally. Like Dan Morgan getting the job with the Carolina Panthers. He's a guy I recruited for the University of Miami. We're dear friends, so I'm very partial to something like that because we're friends or some teammates of mine that work in the Steeler organization. What happened?
Kind of like Tracy Rocker. Like that's your guy.
Tracy Rocker's a friend of mine, very good. He's a teammate of mine. And so I'm a little bit, I have a personal relationship with those guys, so I'm more sensitive to guys like that.
Yeah, you're a little partial. I got you.
Okay, like Michael Irvin. I never, ever wavered on Michael Irvin's innocence with that whole case that he had out there, and it turned out to be he was innocent.
Right.
Because I know what he's going through with his wife personally. I'm not going to go into it. However, so whether Jalen Hurts is a good dude or not, I don't give a fuck. I care that he's the quarterback and he represents himself in a way that personifies what that position in the NFL today needs. A signature face, which he is, a guy who could carry your football teams to wins, which he's won 25 in the last 2 years. And it's a guy that's going to try to keep you in a Super Bowl window. Outside of that, I think what happens is, Tone, a lot of people, like when I say a comment like Brandon Graham or Deshaun Jackson, some of you guys get all butthurt. I don't give a fuck about that shit. What's best for the Eagles? What's best for a team? What's best for the 53-man roster? That's how you survive in that league. Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick made the toughest cuts on the planet. They got rid of Richard Seymour. You know, he had 4 more Pro Bowl years out in Oakland when he went out there, but they traded him. You know why? They were never going to have an unbalanced salary cap like you have in Philly right now. Okay? They were always going to have a balanced cap. They were going to keep everything in the room, and they were going to be honest with their players. You know what they told players, free agents? You'll never make top dollar in New England. You know why? They had Brady. You'll never make top money because Brady was never the highest paid player in the league until he got to Tampa. That's how they ran that organization, with honesty. The Eagles don't run their organization with honesty. Players are constantly walking shit back. So the comment again, going back to Barrett. Hey, do I believe Britton Covney? Do I think that he really likes Jalen and Jalen's a good leader? Yeah. But do I think he walked his comments back? I do. Because Barrett Brooks is not a liar.
You know, here's the thing. I'm grateful and blessed to know Barrett Brooks in the context and in the capacity that I do. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to pick up the phone and be able to call him at any time, and I know he'll answer. That's the kind of relationship, you know, I would like to think that I had with B. Brooks. Every time I called, he answered. Every time he called me, I answered. So, you know, here's the thing. Barrett Brooks, in my experience, for the short time that I have known him, that man's not a liar.
He's not a liar.
That man's not clickbaity. He's not here for the clicks. He's not here to make headlines. He does what he does because he truly loves the game, and you know he's played it and he loves talking about it. You know, he also does color commentary for college games. Like Barrett Brooks is what you call a football lifer. Yeah. And you can't kick him out the building no matter what. So I say all that to say, when Barrett Brooks shares his thoughts on a subject that may be polarizing or controversial to some people, trust and believe, I don't think he's someone who's sharing his thoughts because he's trying
not
to
a hot take guy.
He's not a hot take guy. Never has been. Never has been. So, but here's the thing, right? People turn up the temperature on your takes because you disagree with them. That's what they do. When you say something that goes against status quo or that makes people remotely uncomfortable, they turn up the heat on your takes and make it more than what it really was. And that's exact.
I went on my Twitter page and I go, people are calling me a filthy liar and a moron and a racist moron liar. And I'm like, that comment had nothing to do with me.
Listen, I watched that whole interview from beginning to end. And I rewinded actually certain parts. You did not, and I want to make that clear. You did not say what Barrett Brooks said. You asked B. Brooks a question. He provided a response. You asked him to clarify, if I'm not mistaken.
I did.
And he said what he said. So again, people, what they like to do, whenever the message doesn't serve them, they like to disparage and discredit.
What do they go after the messenger? What do they go after the messenger and not?
Because that's where we are. So we're not in a time where the message is being criticized. It's the messenger. You know why? Because people don't know how to combat ideas with ideas. They only know how to combat ideas with disrespect. They don't know how. People don't understand. It takes a very
what an appropriate comment in the month of February.
Think about it.
In the month of January, excuse me. What an appropriate comment in the month of January.
People don't combat ideas with ideas anymore. They combat ideas with disrespect. Oh, okay. You said this. Okay, man, you're getting paid off by somebody. Or this is like, no, this is just how I feel. You know, like for example, you know what they do to me all the time, Sills? They call me Sileo Jr. It's hilarious. They call me Sileo Jr. And I laugh because I'm like, if they knew me in real life, which I would like to think some of you guys do because I talk a lot. If they knew me, they realize that I'm the
you're
same.
Your own man.
I'm the same, on any platform, really, for the most part. I mean, I feel like I'm the same. You know what I mean? If you talk to my wife, I'm as brash and abrasive with, in real life, as I am on the screen. So regardless, though, when the idea is not suitable for people, they want to attack you. Because
just remember, Tone,
it's low hanging fruit. It's easy.
When you walk to the edge, it's lonely out there.
Yeah, that's why I got married, though.
Yeah. And my wife said about Barrett, and you know what she said about you? She goes like this:
Oh, and tell
Better
your
listen.
aunt I appreciate him. Real quick, tell your aunt I appreciate her, man. She's so sweet.
Wait till I tell you what she says
I appreciate
about
her, man.
you. Really, man. I looked at her and I go, fuck you. And she goes like, let me tell you what she said about Barrett. She goes, Barrett listening to you, right? I said, Barrett's not listening to me. He goes, did you ask him the question? He goes, did you give him a loaded question? I go, I did not give him a loaded question. I gave him a chance to clarify himself. And she's like, oh, so you accentuated the question. I looked at her because she used to be my producer for 20 years. She produced my show. And she goes like this, you see, you can't fuck with me because I know how slick you are with those questions. Rush Limbaugh taught me how to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's art and a technique to doing it. And so she's like, I go, no, I didn't. I had no idea he was going to go there. I had no idea. And she goes, as for your guy, Tone, goes, I've been watching some of that stuff. Don't send him down the rabbit hole. don't have him with a brick. Don't let him wear the brick you're wearing when you go down the gutter hole. Don't take him down. I'm like, I'm not.
That's funny. That's funny.
I go, by the way, Kim, just so you know, there'll be days sometimes he says 4 words to me because he's pissed off, probably out of take. And she'll go like this. Oh, okay, good. So he's got a mind of his own. I go, yeah, he's not. He's not a normal producer where normal producers are going to kiss the ass of the hose. Tone made me take down a comment on my Twitter page, and I never do that. So, I have respect for you.
Yeah, and I got respect for you as well. That's why, that's why like I've grown to know you, right? And I'm my own man at the end of the day. And getting to know you, I appreciate you, man. You're a fun guy to talk to, fun guy to work with, and I wouldn't have it in any other way. So it's like, this whole thing with the whole Eagles.
Is it scary working with me?
Some days, I'll admit. I'll be honest. Some days I'm like, all right, you guys, how can I find a way to butter this up for the people that's watching us right now? How can I find a way? Because a lot of people
I got one today. Hey, Sil's punching down.
Listen, a lot of people think I just agree with you. A lot of people think I only agree with you.
No,
a lot of people think
behind it, the private chat. The private chat, I'll get a couple of these. We're punching down. We're punching
I disagree with you a lot. You know what I'm saying? But overall, man,
who else is afraid of us? James, who? Poor kid. He don't know what to post.
Love James.
Why there's not a lot of postings? Xander said something to me the other day. Hey, James, how come? And James, of course, he's diligently watching. He goes like, I didn't see anything for the Sileo show posted. And James is probably back there going, fuck, I don't know what to post without getting in trouble.
I love James because one day, right? I think we were at I can't remember if it was Oceans or wherever, but I was talking to James. We were talking about the show. I think James said something along the lines of, man, Sales makes it so hard to put up clips. He makes it so hard to put up clips. James, I know you watching, man. I love you to death, James. James knows exactly what I'm talking about.
That is so freaking funny.
He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, my God.
Okay, so moving forward after the fireside chat here.
Yeah.
Okay, Tone, man. Is this thing getting fixed?
I don't know. I'm being honest with you guys. I do not know what the future holds because I have no idea where they're going to go with the coordinators. But then again, I should, right? I should know because they made it very clear. They made it very clear that their intention is to follow their process. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but I feel like Jalen Hurts is this organization's only hope. Only hope, man. I think Jalen Hurts is the only hope for this organization. I said something earlier. Jalen Hurts been taking a lot of bullets, for how he carried himself. And, did he do everything perfect this year? No. Did he have some shortcomings? Absolutely. But ultimately, I feel like Jalen Hurts is genuine. And he strikes me as somebody that is about progress and getting the job done and holding himself accountable. That's the one thread of this organization that I trust unequivocally. I trust his work ethic. One thing that was brought up was the fact that Jalen Hurts over the past 12 months, a lot has changed for Jalen Hurts over the past 12 months.
You know, Gary Cobb, remember Gary brought that up when there's a lot going on in his life.
Right. And then on top of that, you know, I watched Joe Santoliquido's interview on Sports Take the other day, and then I watched then I read his actual article. And a lot of people felt like it was a hit piece. And as I'm reading it, I didn't feel like that. I felt like he was making observations.
I thought it was a constructive criticism article.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt. It felt more like constructive criticism, because not once in that article did he say that all is lost. The Eagles got to figure out a way.
He's not the future.
He didn't say nothing like that. He more so just made observations and said, look, although things didn't go right this year, Jalen Hurts has every opportunity to fix this, and best believe we believe that he can. You know, on top of that,
Deep says something here that goes along with what you're saying. Tone is too invested in Hurts. No, he ain't invested as much as the Eagles are.
Nah, I don't know.
Well, think about that. They're put $180 million, $250 million. That's invested.
Look, here's the thing, right? You just said it. And thank you, Mob Deep. I appreciate you for locking it on the show. The reality is they invested $250 million into that young man. You better believe I'm invested.
That's invested.
You better believe I'm invested. You know what I'm saying? They invested $250 million. Yes, Mob Deep. To put it plainly, I am very invested in Jalen Hurts' success. Very invested.
If the company invested, like you said, $250 million, I mean, you're investing your passion and your love for your team and the civic pride you have for the Eagles that you've been raised with. That's what you give on a daily basis. And I'll say this one more time. Bills Mafia, fly Eagles fly, Steelers, underrated Niner fans, Packer fans, those are the best fan bases in the NFL.
Man.
Those are the best fan bases.
Man. It's
Hey, remember, Tone, when you have an opinion, people are going to roast you.
Oh, no, I ain't worried about that. I just like to pay attention to the ones that actually make sense.
Well, then you only have about 2 in here.
So I got Slugger or Slagger. He says stop with the $250 million talk. It's backloaded. They never paying that. Listen, here's the thing.
Oh, he's going to get $250.
Listen, if he's on that roster when the contract is about to end, he's getting that $250.
Jalen Hurts is going to be on that team 5 years from now.
Look, and here's the thing. The fact of the matter is they got him on pen and paper for $250 million.
And now, with low cap hits.
Right, and with low cap hits. So regardless, $250 million, $250 million, they put that to pen and paper. Now, obviously, I'll be 180 is guaranteed or something like that, 175, whatever it is, that's the guarantee. But if he's your quarterback for that contract and beyond, you're going to pay him north of $250 million, right? So I don't know why people are trying to pretend like that's not the real thing. You know, he signed that contract. If he's healthy and plays it out, he's going to get every cent of that. You know what I mean? But
sorry, I just came across my brain for a second.
Yeah, you're good.
I lost my train of thought there because I have faith in Kobe Dean, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Please continue, because
no, you're fine.
I don't know why that's kind of just popped in my mind just for a second. I have great faith in Kobe. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're fine.
I'm just now I know they're not going to address the linebacker position.
And that's the.
So they're going to bring back Cunningham, and they're going to bring back Kobe Dean, and those are going to be your starting linebackers next year.
I guess so, man. That sounds terrible when you think about it.
Yeah. They made a point of that.
The Kobe Dean hasn't even proven he can stay healthy yet. Come on, man. Haven't even proved he can stay healthy. You know, that's my biggest thing, man. That's my biggest thing. Shout out to our guy Steven. I appreciate you, Steven. This is an interesting take. I like Steven. He says, Tone, you don't even know what you have in Jalen. Each year has been different. Which Jalen are you invested in? That's a good point, Steven. I appreciate you, man. My retort to that is when I compare Jalen Hurts' 3 respective seasons as a starter, I look at year one and year two as a climb. And then year three is the step back. So I think it's more fair to compare I think it's more fair to compare 2022 to 2023 rather than say he was this in 2021, he was that in 2022, he was this in 2023. I don't think that's how it works in my mind. For me,
why don't you rank his seasons 23, 22, and 21?
Rank them as far as
just 1, 2, 3.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously 22 is one. I would put 21 as 2, and I would put 23 as 3.
Because of turnovers.
The turnovers, and also we didn't really know what we had in him in the first place. So you were flying blind, and there was something exciting about that.
So he's played the worst of the 3 years starting, in your opinion, this year.
Yes. I feel like he's played the worst he can play. I think here's the thing, right? We talk about
last
this.
year was up here, Tone. This year's over here.
Right.
He's somewhere in the middle there.
He has to be somewhere in the middle, right?
Is that good enough to win?
I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing. This year, he did not play a good year in terms of turnovers, right? But they still won 11 games somehow. So,
totally true.
So I kind of think about it, with Josh Allen. Yeah, all those turnovers, but damn, they still win 10, 11, 12, 13 games a year.
4 years in a row, they've won the AFC East.
Right. So by that logic, for me, if this is the floor, like I already feel like I know what Jalen Hurts' floor is, and that's wild card weekend. That's his floor. He's shown that he's reached his floor 2 years out of 3, and he scratched his ceiling in 2022. But I just look at Jalen Hurts as a guy that, year 3, we're definitely going to hold it against him. But I don't feel like that's exactly all he can be. I just believe Jalen Hurts is a guy that can get better. I said this earlier as well. I feel like Jalen Hurts is heavily routine oriented. He seems like the kind of player that relies heavily on routine to be successful.
I think Tom Brady's a routine guy.
Right. And typically it's the guys that aren't as talented. Jalen Hurts is not a natural thrower of the football. He's a dual threat guy. He's not he doesn't throw a football like a Matthew Stafford. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have the athleticism as a Lamar Jackson. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well. So he has, in my opinion, I feel like Jalen Hurts is more work than talent.
He's Russell Wilson.
Which I respect.
He's Russell Wilson, Seattle Russell Wilson early.
Yeah, he's more hard work.
I think his ceiling is, by the way, Russell Wilson's going to Canton.
Right. He's more hard work, in my opinion, than talent. And I would take that any day of the week. So I think Jalen Hurts, despite, the things that went down, I look at it like this. A bad year, they won 11 games. Okay. It can only get better.
Well,
it can only get better.
And Prince, I saw your super chat. I got it. And I agree with the people around him. Let me ask you this about Hurts. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You think winning 34 of 51 ball games is good or bad?
You said winning 34 of 51?
51 ball games. He's won 34 of 51 ball games in his 3 years in the regular season. He's 34-17.
That doesn't sound too bad to me. I mean, you won 34 out of your
Does that number sound right? He's won 34 of 51 ball games.
So here we are. I'm
counting just the last 3 years, not those other things.
Yes. He's 34-17 as a starter.
So he's won 34 of 51 games.
Correct. Yeah, and that's throughout his entire 4-year career. So yep,
he's 34-17.
Yep, out of 51 games starting, he's 34-17, and that's not bad in my opinion. That's a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of winning. Not bad. For every 2 games he wins, he loses 1.
Here's a guy that's not thrown for $4,000 or 30 touchdowns in any of those years.
Right, and hasn't thrown for astronomical passing numbers. But one thing I will say,
know this, Tone. Get this.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson will never throw for $4,000 in his entire career as a Baltimore Raven. I'm kind of shocked he led the NFL in touchdown passes one year with 36. I can't believe he did that, but he did it with 3,100 yards passing only.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't need to see Jalen Hurts throw for 4,000 yards for me to, and I'm
Not
not
when
saying
you're
that's what you're saying.
34-17, you don't.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, because look, right, watching Lamar Jackson operate in the playoffs just tells me, I feel like we have an
You
unfair
have that
lens.
formula because he went for 152, 2 touchdowns, and he went for 100 rushing. You get that performance out of Hurts on a daily basis, and you don't have any turnovers, and you get 4 touchdowns, you're gonna fucking
Right.
beat everybody you play.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you know what, and this, and I don't want to get too far off, but this makes me think about the whole disrespect that Cam Newton has been getting because he's analyzing the game that he played for all his life. Right. You know, I heard this guy, I think his name is McIntyre, Jason McIntyre, whatever,
Yeah,
from
Jason McIntyre.
Fox Sports. I heard him say Dak Prescott had a better year. I mean, I'm sorry, had a better career, has had a better career than Cam Newton ever had. And I'm like, huh? And then they put up this stat package that's completely favorable to pure passing quarterbacks. And then, you know, Cam Newton had the opportunity to,
Newton's
like,
an MVP and took a team to the Super Bowl.
An MVP, a Rookie of the Year,
Name me
Burt
the
Bell
wide
guy.
receiver that was on that team.
That's what I'm saying. He had an old Steve Smith.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Steve Smith.
Right. So, but again, the reason I say that is when it comes
And
to
Ron
Jalen
Rivera
Hurts,
is his coach.
right. And look, and the reason I bring that up is because when it comes to the quarterback position, I feel like sometimes, you know, people can mischaracterize Jalen Hurts' skill set and what he brings to the table because he's not doing it the way a Joe Burrow does it, or a Herbert, or a Dak, right? Or a Geno. They're pure passing guys from the pocket. Jalen Hurts, his skill set is not that.
I would never take Dak Prescott over Cam Newton. I would never take in his prime.
Prime Cam Newton.
Not
I'm taking prime Cam Newton over prime Dak any day of the week.
Not happening, man. I mean, plus you forget the 6,000 rushing yards.
Exactly, and that was his
all
thing.
them touchdowns that he has rushing the ball. I mean,
exactly. But you know what they did?
The problem that the league had with Cam is the problem that they have with Lamar, Jalen, and even to some extent Josh Allen. They don't know how to legislate contact when these guys take off in the perimeter. And Cam was the first guy to get his face kicked in, and that's why he couldn't raise his arms later in his career because a hit on – remember last year, Carolina? Brady had a sack. They extended the play, and they ended up beating Carolina to get into the playoffs, and it was a normal sack. Cam Newton, he gets obliterated on the sidelines. They don't call a flag on that, and he's 5 yards out of bounds. They never knew how to really manage or legislate contact. Now, you could read whatever you want into it because the majority of the mobile quarterbacks are African-American. I don't want to go there, but it just seemed that those guys who – and by the way, anytime you hear this, see, I start with Jalen Hurts as savant. He's a savant. He's smart as hell. He sees the field. He's really good. Does he have to learn how to read defenses? Yes, but so did Mahomes.
Right. That doesn't stop.
Dude, how about Mahomes said last year, I'm still learning, man. I came into the league. I had no idea how to read a defense. Well, fuck, if you got the best player in the game saying that, why wouldn't you have one of the top paid guys in the league still saying that?
Andy Reid is a coach, and he's still learning how to read defense.
That.
Right. And that's my only problem with, you know, some people who ride for Hurts, right? Because, you know, I ride for Hurts, but I'm not unrealistic in how I view him or how I view the game. Right?
Have constructive criticism about somebody is not ripping them.
Right.
It's just identifying something that you're watching in one guy. Here's something that I used to say about Brady. Tell you what, you want to get to Tom? Internal blitzing. Because I'll tell you what he struggled with. Tom Brady struggled with inside pressure. Because when he can't step up in the pocket, he threw picks. He was not effective. So you know what you had to – if you got Tom from the perimeter and you rushed him from the perimeter, he was great at going, here, Tone, know this in the pocket. Front door, back door, side door, left door. That's what quarterbacks are taught. Do you go through the back door? Do you go through the back door, the front door, the side door, or the left door? There's 4 doors in a pocket, and you have that option. You're taught this. You're taught about the doors in the pocket. where they are, where the pressure's coming from, so that the O-line knows where you are. Okay? The problem the Eagles had this year was that, get this, Jalen's still figuring out the doors in the pocket because that's not what he does.
Right.
You know what they were trying to do, Tone, in my opinion? They were trying to help the O-line knowing where he was more in the pocket this year, where he was at a traditional 7-step, and they thought that would help pass protection, which in the end it didn't because you didn't have good enough running backs to pick up the internal blitzes. He struggled with that. The year previous, they rolled him. They moved him. He created passing lanes himself with the RPO. They did so many fundamentally wrong things last year in his development. You know, like I said to you before about Ben Roethlisberger, Ben wasn't a guy that was going to go vertical up the field and running plays. He could if he had to. But his big asset was moving around and creating passing lanes, moving his head around, moving the safety over, moving the linebackers over, because he was smart enough to know that he was able to do that. They did no coaching like that for Hurts.
Yeah.
The guy that they get into building this time, Tone, here's what they have to get when they get somebody in the building for him. You've got to have an innovator to go against his deficiencies.
But Sills, here's the problem. When they bring that person in, are they going to allow that person to run what they deem is a viable offense for the quarterback, or are they going to be, or is he going to be forced to placate to Nick Sirianni's vision or Howie's vision?
Can I tell you where the leverage is on them doing the right thing?
Okay.
Howie can't go to the owner and say that I fucked up another $200 million quarterback.
That's a good point that we're not talking about enough.
Think about this. This will be the second quarterback
that he dedicated that much.
$40 million north of in a guy who bombed. And you know what you got to do this time, Howie?
You got to make it work.
You got to make it work. You've got to make it work because, hey, Tone, how many coaches are you going to fire with winning records? How many quarterbacks are you going to give $45 to $50 million to? How many of those guys before the owner goes like this? We can't develop quarterbacks.
So is it fair to say everything that's been happening, is it necessary for us to get to this point with Howie Roseman? Like, follow me here, right? Like you said, he can't afford to bring in another head coach. He can't afford.
And he can't afford to pay another quarterback.
He can't afford to miss on Jalen Hurts being the guy after giving him $250 million. The money. So there's so many things Howie Roseman has been afforded over the past several years that he cannot afford to happen again because people do not survive those things.
Let me tell you what happened. Now that I see the way this thing played out, I really do believe after the Super Bowl and both those coaches got head coaching jobs, I think they really did loosen the purse strings up now. Oh, wait a minute. The control strings up on Nick. And that's why the inexperienced coordinators were hired. Why? Nick would have more say over inexperience along with Howie and the owner. You have more say on direction. Now what they're going to do is they're going to bring in former NFL head coaches. Watch this, Tone. You bring in a former offensive coordinator that's a former NFL head coach who's got experience in dealing with owners. All of a sudden, here's Nick's room. Oh, you bringing an experienced guy in like Frank? Okay. Over here, you got a defensive guy. You bring in a Vic Fangio, or you bring in a Wink Martindale or Leslie Frazier, all guys with former head coaching except for Wink. You all of a sudden put Nick in this box here. And what you have is he's in a smaller box with control because a guy like Leslie Frazier, Hoss, you ain't picking his assistants.
Right.
Okay? You might with Frank because Frank's going to work with Nick because all those guys are kind of thick as thieves.
Yeah, they're kind of tight, yeah.
But with Leslie Frazier, Wink Martindale, Ron Rivera, those guys, dude, they're going to pick their people to run their scheme. So what you do is you take the control a little bit away from the front office. And
so
do
you think Nick had more control over his staff in 2023 versus
Nick had more? I think Nick and them had more say over the culture in the building, which he has been touting about now. And I also think this is why you see a lot of missteps this past year. the hiring of the inexperienced coordinators, the moving around of Matt Patricia.
See, I thought that was a front office thing.
Is that Nick is also learning how to be a head coach on the job.
Oh, okay. See, because I know when we
doesn't it look that way?
You know, it's interesting because I know when we discussed it, we always talked about the idea of they like to have coaches in the building that don't have as much experience because it gives them leeway in terms of control. But in this case, we're assuming that Nick actually made these decisions to bring these guys in, and now they're looking at it like, okay, we gave you a chance. You picked the wrong guys. Now we're going to go our own way. So do you think? So do you think if Nick was the decider in terms of Sean Desai and Brian Johnson coming in, right? If he was the person,
I think they all three were. I think they were all in cahoots together.
Well, let me ask you this then: do you think Howie Roseman hedged his bet, or looked at it like this? Well, okay, Nick, if I'm giving you more control over this defense staff, I'm going to send in my double agent and Matt Patricia.
That's right.
Do you think that was? That's what that was. Howie sent in his own fly on the wall.
Yep.
That's what he did. He sent in his own fly on the wall. I wouldn't be surprised. Right. And again, remember, people, this is an opinion show, not a fact-based show. We're having fun here. Is it fair to say?
Well, because people don't
Matt
want to
Patricia
look at really what happened. I mean, we're talking about what happened here, actually.
Right.
We're not talking, and what we're trying to look at is, you see, the problem.
We're trying to look at every feasible outcome. We're trying to look at every feasible way. This is how we got here.
That the Eagles love to do is hide who's in control when everyone knows who's in control. Okay. I don't know why that's important that you have to hide. When you're hiding and trying to hide that, are you hiding it from the players too?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, if you can't be honest with your players on a Tuesday, when you say you have all the people in the building, and then on Wednesday you're firing Desai, how am I to believe and sit here to believe that the players don't know or have trouble knowing who's in control? How many times did we hear players doing this year? Hey, I'm told what to do. Hey, having two coordinators is like having two wives. And you're sitting there listening to all that.
It's all code.
It's all code. Exactly. It's all code, dude.
Yep. So, look, that press conference, I'm going to watch it back. I'm going to watch it back because I'm curious to see how it actually went in full because I was able to catch clips. But overall,
do me a favor. While I'm talking to Farzy coming up here in a couple minutes, get a couple, send me a couple like tidbits from that thing. If you can, while you're watching it, because to me, the stuff that I watched, I was laughing the entire time. I thought it was like something out of Saturday Night Live. They were like skits.
Yeah, for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to find the quotes, like the transcripts, and send it that way, so it can be read. Because the last thing I want is for us to get pulled off YouTube. You know how that goes. So I'll do is I'll send it to you on Twitter. I'll do it like that. Make it easy.
Hey, how about this?
How
about this? Ready? Nakobe Dean starting Mike linebacker, Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Cunningham starting at Sam linebacker. You guys were talking shit today about upgrading the backer position. There you go. Hey, man, you got to feel like a squeezy sponge right now.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. I hope Howie, and I love Rob to death. I think he does a spectacular show. And Rob's going, my question would be if they're going to upgrade. Hey, Rob, they just upgraded to Zach Cunningham and Nakobe Dean.
I know Rob was watching that press conference like, what the hell?
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, Tone, let me take a time out here, man. I appreciate
yes, sir, man.
As
always,
really
it's fun, man.
Thank you so much, man. We missed you a lot. I'm glad you're back.
Yes, sir.
All good, my friend. Whew. Man, what an absolute nightmare. Okay, we're going to take a time out here. Mark Farzetta is going to join us. Keep it here, National Football Show.
and Hooters, the perfect pair.